Why aren't you creating? What are you doing? Why did you go silent? No one knows you exist. No one knows you exist. No one knows you exist.
I hate this.
So this is going to be monitoring all of your responses to
Eating this many vegetables.
and
You're lightheaded.
I know. It's not. It's. You feel like it's a bigger deal than it is. So now we're going to scan this, and then she's going to read all of her blood. So there's.
Again, I feel like it's not real.
My friend Christy is the kind of friend that will call you out and call you up. That's just who she is as a person. Like, she is the best weight loss coach in the world. She's helped people get hundreds of pounds off of them. Literally, people who are like their last straw. She's the one to do it. I mean, look at her. She's got a like bright colored mohawk. She steps into a room and it's like, you just feel the power that comes from that woman. She's been an incredible friend for so many reasons. She's stuck by me and been with me through some of the hardest times of my life, including this. And she's been kindly, but also nudging me. Why aren't you creating? What are you doing? Why did you go silent? No one knows you exist. You know when people say online, like, you gotta create for your audience even when you don't feel like it. I get it. I stood on stage at Funnel Hacking Live in front of 5,000 people and said a very similar thing when I was going through my divorce, which was one of the hardest times of my life. And I said how I considered, pausing on the content I was creating because why would anyone listen to me when I'm broken? But the thing I said from that stage is helping people doesn't stop just because your life isn't perfect. No one's is.
No one's is.
But frankly, I took a break for a while from creating content because I couldn't show up authentically because I was not grounded and I didn't know what authentic looked like. I was hurting. And Brene Brown talks about sharing the scars and not the open wounds. And I've also kind of tiptoed around that, saying I think it's valuable to share the open wounds while you're in them. There is power to sharing the reality while you're in it, because we're all going through something, and sharing it very transparently can help other people going through it and show them that they're not alone. But frankly, with just what I've gone through in the last couple of years, which I'm ready to share, I didn't know how to show up authentically. And Christy, my same friend who has been encouraging me, hey, get back on the horse, get back on social media. She also lovingly called me out a couple years ago, or I guess a year ago, when she pointed out that my content was really lacking. She was like, Marley, you gotta hear this from a friend that loves you. I've unfollowed you because your content is just not real. And this was during a time when I had a lot of hate, a lot of rumors around me. I was going through stuff with my divorce and legal things, and was trying to show up with a face that I thought the audience would like. And I didn't like me at that time. What I really needed to work on was finding myself, and my voice was obviously shifting in that time. And because I didn't know what authentic was, I didn't have the self-awareness, it clearly came across that way. And it's interesting to look back at your content, and I love going back and observing what I've documented. Like, when we're creating content to reach an audience, but also to learn our voice, to find self-awareness. I don't know about you, but I'm a very verbal processor. If you've ever done the human design personality self-assessment, there's like different authority centers that you can have, and it speaks to where you make decisions from and where you grow from. Stephen's authority center, he's an emotional authority, which of the human design kind of archetypes, 47% of the population falls into the solar plexus authority. So like you get that feeling just like right in your, you know, in your center. And it sometimes means you have to like ride the wave. Like you can have like a high, like, oh my gosh, really excited. But then it's better if you can come down from the emotion and get to even keeled before you act on that emotion. My friend Mandy, her inner authority is, I think it's called splenic, or is it sacral authority, but it's like that gut feeling. You know, a lot of people will say like, what does your gut say? Mine in the human design was like no authority. And when I read that for the first time, I was like, what? I have no authority. What that means is, and this is apparently a rare authority, usually belongs to a very sensitive projector. I'm sensitive. Means that I have a mental process and need to hear my own thoughts and ideas bounce off of other ideas, not to get their opinions, but to almost like hear it come from myself to decide, yes, that's how I feel about it. I need to be able to listen to myself to gain insight on what's correct, the right feeling for me. It allows me to process, which further validates why I need to create and document. So I've created a new routine where my alarm goes off every day at 5:30 and I'm at my computer by 6 and I write. There's a book called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, and she has an exercise in it called Morning Pages, where you just freehand stream of consciousness write for 3 pages. And it's such an incredible exercise to get your creative juices flowing. But I'm actually also writing a book that has been just beating on the insides of my rib cage, wanting to come out, and I've had a lot of hesitation in writing it, and I've been really getting in my own way for some time, and I kind of just had this heart-to-heart with myself that I was like, if I don't make this happen, it's not going to happen. If I don't sit down and make the time, or think like I'll just get around to it after, there will always be things that come up, or things that I do. I've even observed in myself that when it's like time for me to write, for the first few days, I was like, oh, I just need to go, you know what, I need to wash my hair because this is the best time because I won't be able to do it later. Oh, these dishes are out. Like when you have something to write, something creative that wants to get out of you, the dishes can often look a lot more appealing. It's a trap, don't fall into it. So I've been intentionally creating and putting myself in the seat. Getting my butt in the seat has been the hardest thing, but it's half the battle. And part of me also is documenting it for me to grow from observing my own process, and also for some accountability, like a public declaration, sharing what I'm working on. I've been just posting on Instagram on my stories what like me getting up in the morning, showing that timestamp of that I'm here, I'm at the computer, my butt's in the seat, I'm writing. I've been also sharing some takeaways. Like today I shared that one of the best things that I can do is decide the night before what I'm going to write the next day, because then that idea is what pulls me out of bed in the morning, instead of just like, oh, I don't know what I'm gonna write. Well, if I don't know, I guess I'll just lay in bed a little longer. Yesterday, I was also stuck between 2 events in the plot that I couldn't figure out how to string them along. And so one of the things that I did to get past that creative block was I wrote about being stuck. And then the stuckness kind of just unraveled from there. And I found my way through the plot just by writing about being stuck. Like just by continuing to type the words on the keyboard and get through the story, even if they weren't part of what's gonna be in the book, helped me to just keep the wheel turning. And then I wrote as long as I could until my alarm went off, which reminds me that I have a call in 5 minutes. Actually, a call right now. He's waiting on Zoom. I wrap this up. And I had to end writing abruptly mid-sentence, which actually made today's momentum a lot easier for me to pick up where I left off. So it's been cool to share those things, and I'm going to continue documenting the process of creating, of documenting, of trying to get these creative juices flowing, because I have so many ideas. I have the vision, but not always how I'm going to create them. And I think the best way to find that path is just to put one foot in front of the other, and I'm going to document the whole way. It's happening. We're so excited. It's about time. I have your clapper board. We're ready to go. Let's go.
Yeah, I know, right? And you also have Mia's ready to go.
Oh my gosh, you guys. So Steve and I sent Kevin a video once where we're like, we had him wrapped up and we're like, guess what? We have something for you. And we like pulled the wrapping off and it was Mia's. It wasn't his. And then we made another.
We thought it was his award and it was super awkward. Anyway, like, your name's on it.
We sent it anyway and then we're like, okay, here's your award.
I've watched you for years, and so when we were putting together our video challenge, I'm like, got to have Marley if she will even consider us.
Oh, of course, my pleasure. I always love doing these, and I love just any questions. Like I always say, like, throw your questions at me. I'll keep them going either until you run out of questions or I fall down. So let's go.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any kind of maybe foundation content pieces that you also recommend that people create?
That's a good question. I think always hearing the origin story helps so that they know where you came from. Like I shared my story at the beginning of this, that I used to be a dental hygienist. And what I hope comes across from that is that I was just a regular person. I am just a regular person. That I learned through trial and error and failing forward how to make this little thing called YouTube work. And if I can do it, so can you. Consistency is going to bring out your own voice. Like when you first start creating content, you're creating content for yourself just as much as you are for your audience, because you're putting in the reps and you're getting to learn your voice in a way that you can't read in a book. Like if you think about Gary Vee, like Gary Vee has been creating content for years. Like we haven't seen the beginning stages of it. You can totally scroll back to the beginning and see where it came from.
I remember him on I used to watch the Wine Library.
Wine Library TV. I was going to say that. He made 1,000 episodes of Wine Library TV before having the big audience. And that's how he found his voice and is the Gary Vee we see today that has millions of people following him. So you don't always get to see the 10,000 hours that they have to put in to become the experts that they are today. I love doing Q&A calls like that because there's a difference in like writing content or creating content when you're thinking of what people want to know, like what your audience wants to hear from you, and then actually being in a conversation, being in a flow state, being able to feed off of each other's energy and desires and what they're wanting to get out of that conversation. And I think asking the right questions is something I've just been thinking a lot about. Stephen always says this thing, questions invite revelations. And half the battle is just asking the right questions, because when you ask them, it demands an answer. And even if you don't know that answer yet, at least stating the intention to find the answer to that question. We've been asking a lot of questions in the business about like being the absolute best, incomparable YouTube agency that every single client that works with us gets to 100,000 subscribers, gets to a minimum of $20,000 a month from their YouTube channel, minimum. We have clients that are making 6 figures from their YouTube channel, but it's like, what's the formula for creating that for every single client?
Because like in the YouTube world, it's so funny. Everybody asks like, oh, how many subscribers do you have? Like that's kind of the stat. How big is your channel? And size is measured by the number of subscribers. But like, honestly, like I'd rather have a channel like half the size that's generating twice the money. Like I'm like one of the most altruistic people you've ever met. I want to save the world, but I want to get paid. Like at the end of the day, I'd rather have like a hot lead than a subscriber. Like 7 days a week and twice on Sunday.
Twice on Sunday. We have a client, speaking of twice on Sunday, we have a client that is marketing for churches. His channel has 5,000 subscribers and he makes $110,000 a month recurring from his channel.
Give me that. Oh my gosh.
What you guys are embarking on, if I could just say as a student and an observer of successful people, that you guys will be inevitably wildly successful with that, because I believe your heart's in the right place and you want to get results for people. So hopefully that's...
Appreciate that.
Thank you very much. The fact that we're getting those kinds of calls and that we have on our long-term vision that we want to work with like A-list and celebrity, and we have, like they have 12 million subscribers.
I was going to say, I was like, they're one of, I don't know what ranking they're at, but like that's an insane amount of subscribers.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
You know how we set the intention of like, how do we confirm, or how do we can we guarantee at some point that every channel gets to 100,000 subscribers and at minimum $20,000 a month revenue? It feels like just seeds are being planted and opportunities to learn, or I don't know, just showing up.
Yep. And if you can find the strategy that makes that a reality, I mean, the sky's the limit. Because, who doesn't want that, you know?
I feel like I've been on a road to finding, rediscovering, bringing myself back to authenticity. I mean, I guess anything you are, any way you are is authentic, even if being lost, feeling lost is what you authentically are in that moment. In the last several months, dealing with my health and starting up a brand new company, I felt lost. And I stopped creating content for a while because anything I did create felt fake. Because I felt lost. And I suppose I could have said that. I could have just made content about being lost. Hello, my name is Marley Jaxx. Welcome to my channel. I am lost. Maybe that would be interesting to go back to watch, to see how I documented the journey out of it. Because I definitely felt like I was in a cave. I was in a fog. After my diagnosis, I felt all the emotions. Angry. But it took a long time for me to admit that I was angry. I felt guilty. A weird guilt that I was receiving attention. I got this message from this really cool, awesome cancer survivor on Instagram. It was really cool that when I posted that, a lot of really incredibly supportive and encouraging women who I'd never even met messaged me on Instagram offering such friendship and words of support. And I told her this, that I felt guilty of the attention I was receiving. And the reason why is because I would compare. I'd be like, your cancer is worse than mine, or, you know, I'm gonna be okay. You know, I don't need this attention. Like, thanks for praying for me, but, you know, I felt weird. And she said something very firm but loving, that she said something to the effect of like, comparative suffering is no good for anyone. You know, you shared your message, you shared bravely what you are experiencing and going through, and that alone is enough. And you alone are enough. And the people that are supporting you and sending you love, they also are receiving by you accepting their love and support. And my friend McCall Jones also, we had a really deep conversation where she said, you know what? What if you are in need of attention? You do need love and attention and support right now. It just was really hard to ask for it. But here's the other just amazing, mind-blowing epiphany that I got from this is, I say this all the time about like business, that you never know who's listening that could be inspired by something that you have to say. But on the flip side of that, for the first time ever, I realized that you never know who's watching that could be an answer to something that you need. Friends, strangers, people I'd never met or spoken to from all over the world gave me tons of love and support and advice that I don't know if I would have found on my own. You know, they pointed me in the right direction of the things that I then went to research and learn about, and were the answers that I needed for the path that I chose to take with my health journey. And now with, you know, finding myself again and building myself back up is kind of what it feels like. To be honest, there was so much that came my way. Like, I felt quite inundated at times, and some of the advice would just go straight over my head because you can only handle so much, and also because of the fog I was in, sometimes I could get messages and be like, I'm reading it, but I'm not computing. And people were just so friendly, and up until then, I know that I was making decisions based on fear. I was just listening to what my doctor told me to do, which I'm never going to tell you not to do that. Of course I listened, but I also need to advocate for my own self and what's best for me. And I was pointed in the direction of the natural healing route that I took, and 6 months later, my results came back with no evidence of adenocarcinoma, which, from what I researched, was like, I could have had the surgery and still had the adenocarcinoma. So instead of having a surgery that is irreversible and life-altering, permanent, I found these resources and new friendships that just mean the world to me. And this knowledge that I can't unlearn now. My life is forever changed. The people around me are forever changed. Man, I learned so much from that. It was hard. I remember actually after filming the most recent video where I shared the whole journey, and later that night Stephen and I were talking about it, and he was just like, "Yeah, you did it." And I just kind of cried a little bit, that I was like, that was hard. That was hard. A few months ago, I made this public declaration that I was going to be taking time off of work. I said that I was in a really rough place. I really was. I was even having suicidal thoughts. And there was one night in particular where I was just so... I couldn't get out of where I was emotionally. I was so angry, I was mad. So there was this time where I made a public declaration because I was so low. I've never been that low in my life. I've never experienced anything like that. There was one night in particular, as I was saying, that I couldn't come back to myself. And I even walked into Stephen's office and I was like, I need help. I want to hurt myself and I need you to just help me right now. It was a really, I've never had that before. Just never understood that. When people would say that they were going through depression or were struggling mentally, I never knew what that was like. It was like, if you're sad for no reason, can't you just choose to be happy for no reason? I had never known that before. So that was hard. There were so many times in the journey that I was like, I'm turning a corner, I'm coming out of the fog, I'm feeling better. And I wasn't. I didn't know that at the time. So of course those little glimpses of feeling like I was back to normal were good. Now I can say, I think, I mean, of course you have to expect life is just a roller coaster, but I really do feel like myself again. The fact that I'm enjoying work, the fact that I feel creative again, the fact that I want to be social and talk to people again. I feel like I already had my Marley 2.0 after going through my divorce a few years ago. This Marley 3.0? I don't know, is that cheesy? I think what is next is really leaning into just how good it feels to feel like myself again, and that my creativity is coming back, and it feels like it's coming back tenfold. Like I could cry about it, just how grateful I am. I felt so held back, and I didn't realize how held back I was until I felt set free. I am writing my book. I wake up every morning. My alarm goes off at 5:30. I'm at this computer by 6. And I'm just excited that I feel like myself again.